Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to walk you through today's study because, honestly, we are looking at something profoundly practical. If you've been reading through the first two Psalms, you know they establish this grand cosmic framework of the Scriptures, right? You've got the two paths of life, the global politics of the nations, the ultimate victory of Yahweh's Messiah. But Psalm 3, it does something entirely different. It brings all those lofty, global truths straight down into the visceral dirt of human reality. For us as Torah-observant believers, this psalm provides an absolute masterclass in how to maintain unshakable emuna, that deep, abiding faith and trust, even when your physical reality is completely falling apart, when you're outnumbered, and when the enemy is literally screaming that Elohim has abandoned you.
Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The betrayal of a son, 2. The weight of adversaries, 3. The three-dimensional shield, 4. Rest amidst the battle, and 5. The strike of vindication. Think of this prayer as your personal blueprint for maintaining emuna no matter what kind of trial hits you.
Starting right off with Section 1, the betrayal of a son. To really grasp the power of David's prayer here, we have to understand the harrowing historical context behind it.
Unlike those first two Psalms, Psalm 3 gives us a very specific historical anchor. The superscription plainly states, open quote, a psalm of David when he fled from Absalom his son, close quote. Just pause and think about that for a second. David is not running from a foreign nation. He isn't outmatched by some uncircumcised Philistine army. He is running for his literal life from his own flesh and blood.
If you look back at the historical record in 2 Samuel chapter 15, you really see the gravity of this situation. Absalom had systematically stolen the hearts of the men of Israel and staged a full-blown coup d'etat, and this forced an aging David to flee Jerusalem on foot. The scriptures tell us he went up the Mount of Olives barefoot and weeping. Talk about rock bottom. He was experiencing the ultimate sting of public humiliation, familial betrayal, and the very real threat of impending death. Yet, it's precisely in this incredibly dark valley that he formulates the prayer we're studying today.
Which brings us to Section 2, the weight of adversaries. Let's see how this all builds. You know, when your world collapses, the temptation is usually to either completely panic or just pretend everything is fine. But David begins his prayer by facing his brutal reality head-on, without an ounce of toxic positivity. He cries out, open quote, Yahweh, how they have increased who trouble me. Many are they who rise up against me. Many are they who say of my soul, there is no help for him in Elohim. Selah, close quote. He is dealing with terrifying physical danger, but actually, scratch that. It's so much more than that. It's a profound spiritual warfare.
Just look at the actual numbers for a moment. David was drastically outnumbered. Absalom had stolen the vast majority of the army. David wasn't closing his eyes to the facts. The math was deeply, deeply against him, and the sheer amount of people actively seeking his life was overwhelming.
But I'd argue the hardest part wasn't the spears pointed at him, it was the mocking. The crowd was literally chanting that there was no help for him in Elohim. Now, that Hebrew word for help is yeshwaton. It's derived from the exact same root as the name of our Messiah, Yahshua. They were mocking his covenant relationship. They were essentially saying, David has sinned way too much. Yahweh has stripped his protection. He's totally disqualified from salvation. It's exactly what Shimei shouted while throwing rocks at the fleeing king. And for us as Torah-observant believers today, this is the exact same tactic the accuser uses, whispering that your past sins or your current trials mean Elohim has completely abandoned you.
So this sets up a massive, profound contrast. On one side, you have the math of man telling you that you're outnumbered, you're fleeing, your obedience obviously didn't save you, and physical danger is imminent. But on the other side, the theology of the covenant tells a completely different story. It says you are safe, sustained, and shielded. And as we'll see, David is about to lean entirely on that covenant theology.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 3, the three-dimensional shield.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating here is this single Hebrew word va'ata, which translates to, but you. Right in the middle of listing his thousands of enemies, David just hits the brakes. He stops counting the enemy troops. He shifts his focus entirely and exclusively to Yahweh's character, but you.
Listen to how his tone completely transforms in these next verses. Open quote, but you, O Yahweh, are a shield for me, my glory, and the lifter of my head. I cried to Yahweh with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill. Selah. Close quote. Guys, this is a declaration of profound, unshakable trust in his Elohim.
Notice how David uses the word Magen for shield.
In ancient warfare, a standard shield just protected your front. But a Magen? That is a comprehensive three-dimensional defense shield that surrounds you on every single side. Front, back, left, right, overhead, the whole shebang. This directly recalls that foundational promise to Abraham in Genesis 15:1, open quote. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward, close quote. For the Torah-observant viewer, please hear this. Our shield is not our own perfection. Our shield is the unchanging covenant faithfulness of Yahweh. He is the lifter of my head, restoring our dignity when the world humiliates us, and hearing our prayers from his holy hill no matter what ditch we physically find ourselves in.
Moving on to Section 4, Rest Amidst the Battle.
Because David truly believed in that three-dimensional shield, we see this astonishing psychological evidence of true emuna in the very next verses. This might honestly be one of the biggest flexes of faith in all of Scripture. Open quote, I lay down and slept, I awoke, for Yahweh sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people who have set themselves against me all around. Close quote. Surrounded by thousands of assassins in the pitch black of the Judean wilderness, what did David do? He took a nap. I mean, no way you can sleep if you're operating in panic or self-reliance, right? He slept because he fully trusted the guardian of Israel.
And David wasn't just being brave for the sake of it. He was resting on the Torah itself. Leviticus 26:6 promises, open quote, I will give peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and no one will make you afraid, close quote. David was walking out the literal reality of this Torah promise right in the middle of an active war zone.
So, the absolutely crucial point is this. David wakes up the next morning and realizes that waking up is a daily miracle. He says, I awoke, for Yahweh sustained me. Every breath you take is a gift of Yahweh's continuous covenant sustenance. When you realize that the King of the universe is actively orchestrating your every heartbeat, well, it entirely removes the fear of man. 10,000s of people mean absolutely nothing when Yahweh himself sustains you.
And finally, Section 5, The Strike of Vindication.
This leads us right to the Psalm's climax, moving from quiet rest to divine vindication and cosmic victory. David cries out, open quote, Arise, O Yahweh, save me, O my Elohim, for you have struck all my enemies on the cheekbone. You have broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongs to Yahweh. Your blessing is upon your people, Selah, close quote. That phrase, Arise, O Yahweh, isn't just a casual plea. He is intentionally mimicking Israel's ancient wilderness battle cry from Numbers 10, calling on the Most High to scatter his enemies.
And look at the intense, vivid imagery here. The ungodly are described as wild, predatory beasts. But Yahweh doesn't just cage them. He strikes them on the cheekbone and literally shatters their teeth. Think about a lion or a wolf with a broken jaw and no teeth. It is completely neutralized. It can roar, it can look terrifying, but it cannot consume its prey. And you know what? This is exactly what our Messiah, Yeshua, did. He stripped the principalities and the adversary of their primary weapon of condemnation.
We see this cosmic action firmly backed up by the apostolic writings too. Colossians 2:15 says, open quote, Having disarmed principalities and powers, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them in it, close quote. The teeth of the ultimate predator have already been shattered by Yeshua.
So this brilliantly illustrates the blueprint we've been uncovering today. When you face persecution for keeping Elohim's commands, or when a massive personal crisis strikes, follow these 4 steps. First, acknowledge the threat. Don't live in denial. Second, remember your Magen, the three-dimensional shield of Yahweh's covenant. Third, rest completely, knowing he sustains your very breath. And fourth, trust fully in Yahweh's vindication, because deliverance belongs entirely to him.
I want to leave you with this final, vital question to chew on. When the adversaries of life inevitably increase, and they will you rely on the math of man and count the enemy's numbers, or will you rest deeply in your Magen? Remember, salvation belongs to Yahweh. The teeth of the enemy are broken. I encourage you to rest deeply tonight, sleep peacefully, and wake up absolutely assured of his sovereign hand over your life.